Hello, welcome back to the Conrad Coven podcast, a place for community where we explore healing, magic, otherworldly mysteries, plant medicine, and more. I'm your host, Rachel, and I'm so grateful the universe has brought you here today. On this week's episode, we're going to be discussing the importance of spiritual protections when opening portals and channeling, and connection with your guides. And I brought my bestie, Katie from Fat Cat Magic, on with me today.
Hi guys, it's me, Fat Cat Magic.
So we took this course together, and I just thought, with her practical nature of the energy exchange she's working in, not only in her day job, but also in what she's doing to help service others with her gifts and her magic gifts. Just wanted to have that conversation with her. And about a year ago, we actually did an episode on modern Coventry, just kind of, our coming into our witchy selves at that point in time. So it's cool to see how much we've both evolved in a year.
Yeah, I mean, the fact that happened a year ago is wild because my coven has changed so much since then. My practice has changed so much since then. So the fact that was only a year ago, time's wild and meaningless, honestly. I'm just gonna
Yeah.
throw that out there.
Oh, I mean, at the time, neither one of us were really practicing protections, which is actually the whole reason we're sharing this, is because it doesn't even matter to me if you're a witch or not. You can use this, you can utilize these meditations regardless of if you're offering your services or your gifts or energy to other people, because we're always exchanging energy. So, for just a quick background on kind of what brought us to this course today, and kind of, I want to make sure I give a shout out and give credit where it's due. So, my friend Diana, who I ironically met through my corporate job. So, I think it's an important message to tell other witches, hey, it doesn't matter if you work in a corporate job or you have a day job and your main income isn't doing witchy things. You can still meet other witches. And this is an incredible example of that. So we just kind of connected over time, Diana and I, and recognized each other as witches at our corporate desk job. But she and I had actually reconnected after I moved back from Mexico. And she invited me to be part of an event. They needed a tarot reader. So again, just having people who are speaking your name in rooms you're not in, that's such a blessing. And so I'm very grateful for her. So she recommended this way of grounding in and building out like a light energy bubble. And then a couple weeks later, she reached out and she was like, hey, Andy Porter, psychic surgeon, he's got this course. So I brought Katie in. So kind of starting off today, we'll discuss what actual spiritual protections are, why they are needed, what kind of energies. And Katie does a lot more of this work practically in her actual day job and in her side job, so her magic job. So I'm gonna let her kind of take over. But yeah, just why do we need spiritual protections? Why is that important? What energies are we working with here that would even require that?
So I'm going to start by sharing a phrase that I share with the families that I work with. So I work in a school for my day job, and I work with families that have kids with special needs. And I like to tell them all the time, like, you cannot go down with the ship. So, like, if you're working with humans, if you're doing spiritual work, it is vitally important that you protect yourself. And it's not a selfish thing. You cannot serve others if you are being drowned by taking in things from everybody else. So again, I work in a school with families who have kids with special needs, and sometimes that is heavy shit. Like, I sit here and I'm like, I love my job. I love what I do. It's so rewarding, but I sit with people all day, every day who are going through hard things. And so if I just take that on, and I'm a Pisces Enneagram 2, I'm taking that all in. So, like, I can't do it. I have to have some kind of barrier up. And that doesn't mean for anybody else who works with humans during the day in any kind of capacity, that doesn't mean that you're not going to do a good job working with them. You're still you, even if you don't take in all that crap. That doesn't mean that you care about them any less. You actually are showing that you care about them more because, again, when you're a better version of yourself, you're better for others too. So if you're in like a service industry or you just love helping humans, you have to take care of and protect yourself. If you're doing woo woo practices, you have to protect yourself. Like, and I'm a fan of Ouija boards. I love communicating with things and using cool little devices, but like you still have to protect yourself. You still have to be careful that that you're protecting what you're doing in your space. I will say before we did this course, I was always more conscientious of space than I was me actually being something that needed to be protected. So I've always done like cleansing stuff even since I was little. I've always done shower cleansing. So I feel like I've done that to some level, but being able to protect myself going in after doing this protections course has been a game changer and something that I was like, duh, sovereignty as a witch. Hello. That's like, that feels like common sense, but it wasn't until we did this for me. And I've been shower cleansing since I was a kid. So protection is literally just protecting yourself and your energy, your field, and we'll kind of get into that a little bit more, but that's the general thing. If you're talking to humans on a regular basis, you should be protecting yourself and your energy.
Um, And tell us if you'd like to tell us a little bit about kind of what you interact with when you're doing cleansings in houses.
I do still offer those services. I will say, not a lot of people take me up on them, which maybe they don't want to know what spooky shit's going on in their house. But yeah, I have a friend whose house I regularly go and visit. She lives in like a rural small town, like right outside of Bloomington, and her house is always wild. The mirror situation was at her house, and that's a story for another time. Yeah, so I still do cleansings and see her house pretty consistently. I do offer them for my magic business, Fat Cat Magic. And so normally what I do is I walk around and I like, and some people probably get so annoyed at this. I don't care. I call myself a vibe witch. Like when like and it, you know how it is. It's hard to explain when the hairs on my arms stand up. That's how I know like something's amiss here. When like the back of my neck gets itchy in that one spot, I'm like something's amiss here. So I do use some tools, like I use my pendulum, I use divining rods. I've used my cards before, but they don't work the same when I'm doing a house reading. Most of what I'm doing is looking at the vibes. Do I feel off? And then what is that? If it's off, what does it feel like? 9 times out of 10, it's just because it was like a busy area in the house. You know, certain areas people have certain conversations in more than others. And so that all collects in your house over time. So that's kind of what I'm looking for. And then sometimes people will tell me, oh, I feel off. Like that same house, her husband had told me, I can't be in the house too long or it feels too heavy. Like what's going on in there? So then I'm checking out like, you know, what are some commonly used spaces? Where do things feel wonky? That's what I'm looking at is, you know, how is the house affecting people in certain areas and what's going on in there vibes wise.
Yeah, I mean, so you're dealing with energies, you know how to pick up when something's light and when it's not light. I think that's something I was kind of seeing in my house, and since we did these courses night and day, light energy is everywhere here, but there was some really dark energy, especially in the basement, and I have not felt it, has not been present. So,
Hmm. That's
um,
amazing.
yeah, I mean, that's what the point is, and, why we wanna share this today too is like you were saying, dealing we all deal with other people's energy. So, dealing with other people's energy, letting that stick to you, letting that affect you. I shouldn't even say letting, it's just part of human life. We have energies coming and going. For me, I wanted a way and also, like, I also am okay with, like, let there be negative energy from other people because that's also part of human life. We can transmute energy. It's not even just about to me about protections. It's also you can transmute that from, oh, you want to have envy or jealousy towards me. I'm transmuting that until I just feel happier. It just makes
Yep.
me smile more. So things like that. Yeah. So I guess moving into we know why we need spiritual protections, but what we ways that we can, I guess, kind of start to ground. You said you've been doing this your whole life. What were you doing as far as cleansing activities before you got kind of this meditation in this course?
So, I am a well, since I was little, I mentioned I'd done shower cleansing. So, when I would feel like consistently, like over a couple days, like, man, I'm really struggling, I'm overwhelmed, I would do this process. And I've done this like as long as I can remember. So, at least since I was a little kid, where I stand in the shower and I let the water hit like the back of my neck, top of my shoulder area. And I slowly make the water hotter. And I just picture just it's taking all the negative stuff away from me. So that's what I've done since I was little. I'm a ritual bath girl. I've always loved a bath and like making my little potions in the bath. Now it's of course more mindful. But growing up, I would love using like Epsom salts and flower petals and just like stuff like that intuitively. Since like I started getting deeper into witch practices, I use eggshells cascaria like it's like I'm paid to. The amount of eggshells I have in and around my house is appalling. I put it in my baths. I clean stuff with it. It's in my windows, doorways. It's everywhere. And it's really powerful. Like I can feel the eggshells when they're present. So if you don't know much about using eggshells or cascaria for protection, do look into that. So I use a lot of eggshells, salt like normal witches do, I guess. And then post course, it's more of like keeping my energy, like my personal spirit and energy protected. So it shifted from my space to my person even deeper than the shower cleansing because that was more cleansing as opposed to protection. So it's kind of like, what's easier, unloading the gun or wearing a bulletproof vest, right? Like just unload the gun. And so instead of cleansing, now I'm just protecting and then I don't even have to cleanse. Like, oh, duh. So I'm protecting myself as opposed to taking the beating and then having to pick it off of me. So that's been the difference but I still do all the environmental stuff too. It's just now when I'm like out and about and I'm not in my house where everything's catered to what I need, I am still protected. So that's been the shift.
But do you understand what I mean when I say what a difference? It feels like there's a weight off of you.
Yeah.
It's
I
been
mean,
lifted.
work
So
has been really heavy lately, but I don't feel like I'm carrying it like I used to.
you're doing all these things. You were doing all these things before, and it's you still had this heaviness in your energy, right? And then
Mhm.
now it's just the difference in how I felt when I did the first tarot festival and I didn't set up that boundary, so I was probably absorbing everybody. And then
Mhm.
this time, like, making sure I had selenite, and I sat in my car for 30 minutes and meditated and cleansed and grounded after I sat at my desk. You know, I felt so different after that
Mhm.
event because I had set myself up for that success, and really my clients were set
Yeah.
up for that success.
We're better for yourself, and then it ended up being better for who you're serving too. It's like a win-win.
Exactly, dude.
Yep.
So I guess next we can kind of jump into what we do now. So what we're doing now, course, we've learned in this course. We basically you go through a 6-week course of learning this material, but and it's interactive, and Andy's obviously facilitating it. So these are just cliff notes. These are highlights. If you want to take a course from Andy or anybody, obviously you still should and can. He also has a lot of these exact same meditations that we were doing week by week. He has them available on his website. So I will link those in the show notes. Let's take it step by step. So I would say first step is you sit down in a quiet place and you're breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth, which Andy specifically has said this is how you signal to your guides that you're spiritually coming online. Just little things like that. And it's again, what a difference. It's not just, hey, you're breathing because this is the woo woo thing to do. It's
Right.
I'm starting to actually sense and feel the deepening of my subconscious.
Mhm.
It's like a switch
You have
is
to
now,
change your vibration is what you're doing to be able to click into what's happening.
yeah. So then, yeah. What would you say the next step is after you've kind of started breathing and you're clicking in and you're starting to subconsciously come into yourself?
So then the next step would be you start focusing once you feel like the air you're breathing out is clear or white, you're not breathing out any of that yucky air anymore, then you start focusing on your chakras. You can either no, it's your grounding. See, I always want to jump into the chakras and I forget the grounding part and I always have to backtrack when I'm doing it myself. So the next step would be you actually want to picture your feet either flat on the ground or if you're laying in bed. I even picture my roots coming out from the whole bottom of my body, which is kind of one of my favorite imagery things. I mean, how imagery works for me, because you know that I can't picture things the way other people do, apparently. But I like to picture because typically I am laying down, I'm in bed, so I picture like the roots coming out from all the bottom of me, securing me to the ground, or you can picture your feet on the ground with roots coming out of them. You can actually also picture the word grounded. So the next step would be grounding yourself in some way in whatever form works for you. But those are the ones that we talked about in the course.
Yeah, and that's why I encourage the meditations that Andy has on his website for that exact reason. Because it's hard. I'm sure in a year, we will not need any of these meditations. We will be able to facilitate these things for other people. But right now, those steps are still being
Yep.
learned by us. So, yeah. And then, like you said, so you ground in, and then kind of I look at it like, okay, you're starting to pull light up from out of the earth into
Mhm.
cells and then up through your own chakras. And each chakra is kind of opening
Yep.
like a little door
The little
as you,
doors open with the light.
yep, as the light's bursting out from them. And I love that because now that I'm learning Reiki and obviously having had a Reiki master who worked on me for years, I always think of our chakras as kind of like marbles.
Oh,
You know,
okay.
they get cloudy, they get dirty, they might get a little, and we're kind of wiping them off. Sometimes it's outside, sometimes it's a deep cleaning inside. So I love the imagery of our chakras just like bursting open. And then what?
And then, so once you get to the top into your crown chakra, then you picture the light coming up out of your head and collecting to or connecting to the collective core consciousness. But that's where it's kind of interesting. So I told you that I don't visualize the same. So I know that I'm connected when the darkness of my eyes being closed turns into stars, like in space. That's how I know I'm connected.
That is so, I don't know, connecting into earth is so dope. Mother Gaia is so dope, but like connecting into core consciousness is where I've had the most profound shit come up for
Yeah,
me. Yeah, for you too?
same. Yes.
Yeah. So that's cool. So for me, it's basically, I'm just following this like pillar of light forever and ever and ever. And it's so dark and you can't even look back. Earth's gone. You're just out in the darkness and you're seeing stars.
Mhm.
So cool. Yeah. All right, cool. And then so kind of at that point, now we're grounded. We've connected to core consciousness. We've breathed in the light. We're building out our bubble. So I would say
Mhm.
now it's time, would you say time to call in the guides, right?
We also have to protect. Remember, he goes through a couple different ways to do that with the wetsuit and the cloak. You do like the bubble of light kind of situation. So essentially, you have to step into whatever protects you, whatever that visualization is for you. Picturing the bubble of light and stepping into it, putting on the wetsuit. He goes through a couple different ones. But now, so you got all these lights showing and you're just walking through the universe like, yo, check me out. And you don't want that because people like the lower vibration can pick that up. So now you got all your chakras open and you're a bright and shining ball of sun walking around. You got to then protect that.
Yeah, but I remember you talking about, you made me really appreciate how you were like physically, functionally, like zipping this shit up,
Mhm.
putting it over your head. But that is something that I think carrying that and just if that's the only thing you take out of this is to
Mhm.
take that with you when you're entering, when you're going to the grocery store, you're going to meetings with other people, you're going to work. Like, if you're opening up your chakras, make sure you're putting on that cloak to protect your energy. And a big
Yeah.
thing that I've said and continue to say is dark energies exist, light energies exist. We can exist in duality with both, but we have to protect ourselves and pretending like the dark stuff doesn't exist doesn't mean that it doesn't. So
Mhm.
I just want everyone to be protected because right now there's just so much spiritual warfare going on too in the world. So
Yeah. And you just never know. You never know who isn't wishing you well or who's got your name in their mouth. And so it's just better to do. And once you do it enough, like it's just you're protected just like that.
yeah. I mean, and with that, I use a spell and I say, may every like evil or envious eye on me turn into income.
Yep.
But yes, protections are also,
Alchemy.
yeah, we gotta transmute that shit.
Yes.
All right. Yeah. So once grounded, connected to core, bubbles built, or you've put on your suit, your guides are here, you've called in the guides. Now we can kind of start to see who our guides are, which like I think this is also a super awesome part of what we came into through this is just learning and seeing our spirit teams and
Yes.
getting to see them, different people showing up each week, asking them specifically. I don't know how much you want to talk about this, but like for me, I saw people and I was like, "I don't know who you are." And they were like, "It's your uncle." And I'm like, "Oh, hey dude, how are you?"
Unk.
I mean, just not people that you would expect to see. And also, it's tied in a lot to me for me too with the Reiki thing, because like she's like, call on your mothers, call on your grandmothers. Like these are ancient ancestors of yours who did not get to speak their truth or do what you are doing because they could not at the time. You owe it to them to do it for them.
Mhm.
Do you want
Well, and they can do a lot of work. Like, Andy talks about how, like, you don't have to clear your own field, like, you can train your guides to do that for you. So, having that space where they can help you and you help them is what you need to be doing. Like, it's so beneficial.
do you want to talk about at all like that experience for you coming into learning your guide team, seeing your guide team?
Yeah. So when I did the meditation and I had never like sat and talked to guides or anything like that. I'm kind of a slow build with things. Like I kind of need them to slap me in the face before I'm like, "Oh yeah, maybe I should look at this." Which is what Aphrodite or not Aphrodite, Persephone did to me. She like pretty much smacked me in the face and I was like, "Fine, I'm looking at it." um that's where I met, one of my spirit guides for the first time doing this meditation course. So my mom is always around. I know she's always around. She's always guiding me. But then I did this course, and has like a whole process where you like have a room where you meet with your guides and you come up with like a two picture process of like making sure that you're talking to your guide and not some like rando who's picked up on your light out in the astral streets. You know what I mean? So I saw, in the way I see things, a tall, super tall being with long hair. And sometimes it's lighter, sometimes it's darker. It's not always the same colored hair, but she doesn't really show her face. It's all just like I get like she's tall. I've had a couple of meetings with her now at this point, but I did have a meeting where I asked her name and she said her name was Saffron, which I think is super cute, super abundant related, flowery. I just love it. So I've actually utilized saffron a couple of times because I've had Rachel, you know all about the dark man, but I've had this like dark energy that's been around me literally since I was a kid. And the last time he had the nerve to interfere with something I was doing, I asked Saffron to help because we've been working on she helps me clear things. And he was gone in a second. And I haven't really felt him since then. So when he talks about training your guides to do things, like, that's the kind of shit that they can do, and she wants to, like, otherwise, she's probably just sitting around bored. She's like, "Hey, witch, I'm here. Talk to me. I'd like to help. I'd like to do things." And so I've been building a relationship with her, and it's been so freaking cool. So, that's been my experience with guides since I started taking this course because I didn't really have much before that other than being like, "Mom, can you help out with this one?"
Do you do deities? Do you have deities?
The only one that I've started dabbling with is Persephone, because again, she smacked me in the face. So I do have like I have a pomegranate situation on my desk that I have. This is where I keep my last wish of my 12 wishes spell that I did. So that sits right here in my workspace. And I've started to collect things for her for an altar, but I haven't built it yet. So but of course it would be her very duality, very like dark and light, very springy, but also death, like of course, clocked. But yeah, so that's the extent of the deity work that I do personally.
Yeah, and that's something I really like. I like the differences that we have in that because I grew up in the church and I was like, oh hell no religion, but then to come back around and now have my deities be the same ones I grew up with, it's like okay. And thank you guys for hanging out during that period when I was rejecting of you because I was rejecting religion, but
Yeah.
coming back, this sounds insane to me, like, to even say it out loud, coming back to Jesus through this process, not
Hmm.
as, a Christian, not as a religious thing, but just as knowing that he's with me, he's been with me my whole life, that's pretty freaking cool to me,
Yeah.
so it's cool to me too because you didn't grow up in, like, a churchy setting at all, that you do have a deity too. And I don't know, I love learning about other people's deities because I think there's truth to everything, right? We all have a different life experience. We all come to life in a different way. We probably can all see things from different perspectives.
Every human is just trying to like live and be happy. Sometimes that looks different than what other people expect, but, like, we're all just trying to live and be happy at the end of the day.
Yeah. So calling in your guides, your ancestors, your whoever, your deities. For me, it's Mother Mary, it's Mary Magdalene, and it's Jesus. I would have absolutely if you had told me a year ago that there would be a cross around my neck, I'd be like, that's not gonna ever happen. You're insane. So like for you, whoever it is, and I have an altar, I pray, I set up incense, whatever. Because I think this is the thing too. I don't want to limit this and scare people who might be interested in this. If you have a religious background, you can still do these things.
Yeah. Yeah, in fact, they are doing these things, they just don't call it that. Sorry. Adorning the tree that you took from the woods with little trinkets is witchcraft. I don't care what anybody says. And nobody is a trinket queen like a Christmas queen, okay? And you cannot convince me otherwise.
Even the spiritual like gathering and prayer, like when people pray over people, and it's like, oh, they got healed, and it's like, yeah, because a bunch of people, to me, it's like a bunch of people were putting their energy and love and intention into that person. Like, yes, there may be a deity involved, but like there's so much power within us as people. I am detracting, I'm sorry. But the point is, I want to empower, like, yes, you can outsource. There are guides, we have our deities, but don't forget the power also is so within you. And then after we do the check with our guides, if there are an additional layer, if the sovereignty check, which is, am I sovereign, yes or no, you're getting 3 yeses in a row. You're double checking, like Katie said, your guides are going to give you. I have a flash of 2 pictures. It cracks me up what they picked, but this is what they picked. They were like, "You're going to get this and this," and I was like, "Okay." So knowing that those are the people who are here to put you on your highest timeline, and then if you need to, and that sovereignty check goes through a second time and it's not clear, then you can call in Shen, who is Andy's kind of mainly channeling him, and Andy is a psychic surgeon, so he is doing incredible work where he's going into people literally psychically, doing incredible things medically through psychic power. So I don't know, Katie, I definitely had multiple experiences where I needed a second clearing and Chen had to come in too. Did
Yeah,
you have that?
it took me weeks to have 3 yeses because I'm never sovereign, what do you mean? Like, I do what I do, you know? So, I love a Ouija board. I love reaching out to people that I don't know to offer them help. Like, I'm so it took me weeks to have three sovereigns in a row, to have 3 yeses.
So what do you think? Oh my gosh. Because I won't touch a Ouija board, but then I'm like, well, I'll do pendulums and I'll do
It's
wands
the
and I'll
same
do,
thing, I'm sorry to
like,
tell
it's
you. It's
the same
the
thing.
exact same thing.
So you know what? This is another great conversation. So what do you think now? Like, I think for me now, I'm just like, yeah, I feel so much safer and smarter going into like something like that with an energy protection in place versus before just kind of hoping and praying on good vibes that it was somebody who had my
I just
highest.
had protective things with my Ouija board, so I was never just, like, raw dogging the Ouija board. I always had, like, crystals and, like, incense, like, candles, like, I wasn't just going in totally ridiculous, but, um, I've also rarely felt absolutely horrible things energetically. Even the one time I had the most successful use of a Ouija board was the hand drawn one that I used down in New Orleans with my sister in law. And you'd think, like, you crazy lady using that in New Orleans. It was the most successful, but it still wasn't bad. It was just, so even in house readings, all of that stuff, I rarely feel things that are like life sucking vampires make a horror movie out of this type of thing. It's usually things you can deal with pretty easily. So I think that's also why I'm not super scared, because the scariest thing I've ever dealt with is the dark man. And I've had to deal with him my whole life. So for me, I'm like, Ouija board, let's go. Like, that
Yeah,
doesn't scare me because I deal with the dark man. So
I don't know. But now that I felt the energetic lightness that I have felt, I'm kind of like, what was sitting on me before?
mhm.
I followed this gal and she was talking about how there was like this creature attached to side of someone. And I don't want to freak people out. Sorry, guys. But, like what was going on? So I'm very grateful for the lightness that I feel. daily, and now I'm just like, "Yeah, I wanna keep that sovereignty in check because
Mhm.
it feels so much better."
Yeah.
Difference in the energy field in the home. Have you felt those your sleep's been way better.
My sleep has been way better. Yes, and, I had been talking to you about I know that I've been traveling in my dreams. I haven't quite figured out how that travel is working, like, is it a time situation? Is it a past life situation? Haven't delved into that a whole lot. I need to, but I haven't. So, anyway, I've been traveling in my dreams, but when I do the protection and the chakra and all the things, that doesn't happen. So, now it's if I want to, because there are some nights I go to bed and I'm like, all right, let's see what happens. And then I don't go through the whole thing. And that's usually when I'm traveling or I'm doing things. If I go through it, nothing happens. I just sleep. I just sleep because I've always been vulnerable sleeping since I was a kid to things. So, to spiritual things. I had night terrors as a kid, which sometimes was, I think, night terrors and sometimes was me being a creepy little witch kid.
And
But
you know, I mean, kids don't know how to protect themselves, but
no, and they're so vulnerable. Sleeping? Whew.
when you're traveling, but especially when you were here, because I made you do those with me every night, but, it's worth it.
It
It was
is.
worth it was cool to do it with you too.
Yeah,
So,
for sure. And, I went out like I've never gone totally trance, so that was pretty cool too.
yeah, it was so cool to see you because, I mean, it seemed like you had just kind of fallen asleep, but then literally I barely brushed your arm and you woke up immediately, and so that's how I knew. I was like, "She wasn't asleep."
Well, and I told Marsha I was out, but I could feel your hand moving towards me. So I knew you were reaching before you even touched my arm.
Yeah. So that trance, is a pretty cool thing, like, I mean, and you've done this for months. It takes a level of being so comfortable that, like, you can almost it feels like you fell asleep, right?
Yeah, except deeper because I wasn't clicked at all into what I'm a pretty light sleeper. I can tell what's going on around me, and I could not, other than when you reached for me, there was nothing.
And I've woken up because I was doing these maybe in the middle of the day on a weekend when I was bushed, and I'm just like, "I need to just do this."
Hmm.
And I would wake up 3 hours later and be like, "What the heck, man? How did I just sleep?" But if you're not sleeping, your body, your guides, whatever you needed energetically is kind of happening, and it's kinda like you just had to put yourself under a little anesthetic so that you could get that work to be done.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's worth it. What do you
it
think?
is.
It's worth it.
It's definitely worth it. Have your guides help you. Have your guides do some of the work for you. It clears you up to do so many different things when you let them help you with that.
And I know you've been sharing this work with a lot of people, so thank you for taking the time to come on this with me and talk with me about it for this episode. And obviously, if you want to book with Katie, she does Lenormand readings. She does
Yes.
just go check her out. Fat Cat Magic on Instagram. Go book with her, get a reading, get a clearing. She is also an amazing coven leader, so she's just a great resource for any witches. She's helping out the baby witches. She's learning from the crones. Like, this is my girl. So go check her out. And thank you so much again for tuning into this week's episode of the Comrade Coven. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend, rate the episode, comment, and subscribe for new episodes releasing every week. Thank you.